Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Ballin with Bash and Ted. I'm
Ballin.
Ted H6 from TED Talks Ball. That's Bash, aka Bashar, aka at 49er Minded. Happy Faithful Friday, my friend.
Yes, sir. It's a Bash
almost
and
made it
Ted
through another
collab
week
with TED Talks Ball at 49er Minded, where we get into the minds of 49er fans. It's always good to reach out to each other and, combine our minds and get our brains engaged and talk Niner football.
Cheers.
There you go.
Interesting week this week. It was supposed to be more OTAs, but Kyle canceled the last OTA practices and turned it into mini camp, which is mandatory. So we got to see everybody show up. All kinds of interesting news from the week. Before we jump into it, let's see where the audience guides us. We've got a few people here in the audience. We got Jimmy Perez was a little bit early. He said, "What's up, guys?" And Faithful in here. Thanks for joining, Jimmy. Hope you make it back for the show. Got Bryant Culp in the house. He's saying, "What's going on?" Clearly, Bryant is going on. I saw that he had Grant Cohn on. Haven't had a chance to catch the show yet, but I will definitely do that. Congratulations on the big get, Bryant. You deserve it. We're proud of you, buddy. That's awesome. Bebop Jones in the house saying, "What's up, Bash and Ted?" Thanks for joining, Bebop. Hopefully the smoke is a little bit better. He was saying the other day that Lehigh Valley had the worst air quality. He said in the world, but maybe he meant in the country. I don't know. It sounded like pretty bad.
All
pretty
the smoke.
Smoky.
We had plenty of it over here where I live when we had the crazy wildfires. And not so much last year, but the previous 2 years. And I don't want any more smoke. No.
Yeah, come August, September, we can probably expect more of that. Seems to be a pretty regular occurrence here in Northern California these days. Bryant saying, "Hey, Bashar and Ted." And then just Ted. Got Laura Cat in the house saying, "Hey there, ballers. Have a great show."
What's up,
Thanks, Laura Cat. We appreciate you being here. And I am going to try and show all the chats because we have people in different channels. Some people are watching from 49er Minded. Some people are watching from TED Talks Ball. I don't want anybody to feel like they're missing out. Also, whichever channel you're watching from, if during the show or at the end, you could pop over to the other one and give a like and subscribe to both. That really helps us out a lot. Kenny is saying number one defense. We definitely had the number one defense last year.
He always says number one defense.
There you go. But we added Javon Hargrave, and who knows? Maybe even Jair Brown might end up playing some for us. It sounds like he's been doing well this week. But what are your thoughts on number one D Bash? Do you think we'll retain that title?
It's going to be different, obviously, because Steve Wilkes. I finally got his name right. I used to always say John Wilkes, by the way, which I should have never said. But Steve Wilkes seems really engaged. But again, he's not D'Amico Ryans. He's not Robert Saleh. So things are going to be different this time around. But the little I've seen of Jair Brown in camp, it looks like it could be an upgrade from what we've had in the past in terms of our overall safety depth. Javon Hargrave in the middle. I had no idea this guy had legs that made Dana Stubblefield's legs look like toothpicks. This guy is a freaking huge dude. So it's going to be really exciting to see him in the interior pass rush with the amazing pass rush that we already get from Bosa. And hopefully we get some other guys stepping up too. I see Bayer Baller in the chat.
Eric Price in the house. What's up, Eric? Thanks for joining. Bryant says great content. Saying what up to Eric. And Eric was saying, "Bryant, I caught the end of you and Grant. Good stuff. Outstanding."
Shout out to Bryant. He had on Grant Kona. That's pretty cool. I saw the thumbnail for it. I didn't get a chance to watch it yet. So.
I was gonna watch, and then I was realizing we were running out of time before the show here, and I was like, I better eat something. Maybe grab a trusty cup of coffee. So unfortunately, I didn't have time, but it's definitely on my hit list of next show to watch. Watch back, I guess I should say. So sorry, I missed the comments, though. It's always nice to have people in the comments. Bryant's so great at supporting us. So anytime I can, I will be there live and in person. We got 187 in this house saying BBNG for Bang Bang Niner Gang.
Because it's 187 on the undercover cop. That was so there's a song between with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg that came out for this movie. I forgot the name of the movie, but it was Snoop Dogg's first appearance ever. It was in a music video, and he had that little tagline where he kept saying it's 187 on the Undercover Cop.
Yeah.
Forgot what movie it was for though.
I want to say it was New Jack City, but
It was after New Jack City. You know, I'll look up and find out for you.
Okay. All right. Okay. It was Keisha. Was the character, I'm pretty sure. But maybe that was Colors. We'll walk down the hill and F them all, Bash, you know?
It was for a movie called Deep Cover.
Deep Cover.
Yeah, it was this is 92, 93 or so, something like that. Okay. I never saw it. Oh, Laura got it. Okay, Laura's on top of it. She's really on top of movies, by the way. And Laura's the one who told me to change it from Bash to Ballin' with Bash and Ted to instead we had it from Ted and Bash because she thought it sounded more catchy. So whatever.
Oh yeah, she would put you first. I see how it works now, Laura. All right. No, all good.
What's up, Tanya?
We are open to any kind of creative input. That is not my specialty. I'm more of a stats guy and analysis guy, and then
that's the yin and the yang that we got because I'm all about creativity. I'm not really a major stats analyst type of guy, but with me in football, it's always the eye test. You know, I've always what I see is what I get, and that's what I speak of. But Tanya Sales in the house. She's NFL royalty.
She is.
Yes, she is.
There's Tanya, and she said, "I guess it didn't go through." Yeah, Twitter. You got to get onto YouTube. Is the best way to be seen and be seen on here for sure. And Tanya was on earlier with Ryan when he had on the coach from Grant Cohn fame, and then Bonte Hill from 95.7.
The coach is really good. That guy that comes on Grant Cohn, I have no idea what his name is. I have no idea how to contact him on Twitter, but that guy's. I like it when him and Grant Cohn are on together, and he's got really good, just a really great feel for the game in general.
Well, I'm sure he's watching. So, Coach, if you'd like to come on sometime, we'd love to have you on as a guest. So,
he's watching. Okay, wow, I feel honored.
I'm sure he is. I mean, everybody is. So, probably Coach too, right? So, see here. Kenny says Jordan Mason going to be a problem. I can feel it. CMC Mason Mitchell. That's something to circle back to at some point here. That has to do with some of the current events. But real quick, I got to try and catch up here a little. Joe Perkins says 49ers will win number 6 this year. Book it.
I hope you're right.
That's what I like to say.
I'm not going to go to Vegas. I'm not going to book it and go to Vegas. But
when I'm really sure, that's what I say. I say book it with an exclamation point. That's one of my timeline faves. Kenny says I agree. 187 says that's where I got my name from.
Oh, okay. See, from the song. There you go.
Deep cover. Tanya's waving high. Kenny knows deep cover too. Laura Cat says, haha, Ted, you're funny. Yeah, but looks aren't everything, right?
That's
funny.
That's where I get my sense of humor from Ted, guys. So.
Strong smelling, Kenny said the name of the song is Deep Cover. Oh,
that's true. It is. He's right.
So not from the movie Deep Cover.
It's for the movie Deep Cover, and the song is
okay.
Deep Cover. And it was the very first time Snoop Dogg appeared.
Title track.
Very first time Snoop Dogg appeared on a national album, on a national song, and a video. So it was his debut, basically.
Laura saying hi to Bryant and Take 6. Yeah, I like that better than Quest.
I was about to say Kenny was mentioning the running backs earlier, and earlier he was mentioning defense. If those are two things from his 49er fandom that he will make sure that everybody knows is that he loves running backs and loves defense.
There you go. So Kenny, I'm going to circle back to that one. I said I would. Jordan Mason is going to be a problem for opponents. I can feel it. CMC, Mason, Mitchell. Thing about Mitchell is he was injured last offseason, and then he was injured the first quarter of the first game of the season. And then he was out 7 or 8 games with that MCL sprain, came back for a game or two, sprained his other MCL out 7 or 8 games. Then he came back for the playoffs, failed to stay in bounds against the Cowboys. That would have ended the game. And because he stayed in bounds, we had to run another series. And during the next 2 runs he ran, he injured himself missed the NFC Championship games, and now he's injured for OTAs and minicamp. Hasn't participated in any offseason practices yet. So I'm going to go ahead and say Mitchell's injury prone, and I can't count on him. And I'm open to replacements. And lo and behold, guess who I believe got released today? I know he was scheduled to be released today. Is Dalvin Cook from the Minnesota Vikings. And I had a lot of people tell me we don't need him. And I'm just like, I said what I said about Mitchell. I said TDP is TBD. He's to be determined what TDP is. Certainly not a proven quantity. And even Mason, he's flashed, but like he hasn't proven too much yet. And he certainly hasn't proven he's a better receiver than Dalvin Cook. So I don't know. I mean, if we could get him on a decent deal, if he's maybe trying to ring chase and wants to come to a contender, I don't know. What do you think about that, Bash? Am I crazy? Or I mean, I'm not saying it's likely, but
I mean, I'd love to bring him in. That'd be amazing depth, but it'd be a whole lot of money invested into the running back position as well. I'm not sure.
Well, we already are.
Yeah, who knows what kind of money he's going to be demanding? And the reason why the main reason why he got released obviously is for contractual reasons, but Minnesota actually tried to seek a few trade options as well, but those didn't go through at the last minute, and their last resort was to release him.
Well, they're releasing a lot of people though. They let go of Kendricks. They let go of there's a couple other veterans that they let go of. Kendricks, I think Harrison, the safety, and maybe one of their defensive ends. Was it? I forget, but I know
what you're talking about. I saw
cut about 4.
I saw the article for the defensive end the other day.
Older, expensive veterans.
Was it Everson his name? I'm blanking on his name.
Something like that.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I saw the article the other day, but I mean, I like our running back. I like our running back core in general. Obviously, CMC is awesome, but we do. He has shown to be injured in the past. That's the one thing that worries me about the guy. Other than that, CMC is freaking amazing.
That's what I said. I said CMC. I mean, not to be mean about it, he's no Iron Man, right? I mean, he missed games in 2020. He missed games in 2021. They weren't serious injuries, and maybe he could have played more if he was, or maybe he would have played more if he was on the Niners and we were contending versus, the Panthers who are out of it. So like, why, trying to rush yourself back? But I just don't think there's any sure things. And if CMC did go down, Dalvin Cook would be an awfully good analog, an awfully good replacement. He's not as good as CMC, but he's pretty close. I mean, he's had over 1,000 yards the last 4 seasons rushing, several hundred receiving yards, tons of TDs, rushing and receiving every year. I mean, when I was arguing with somebody, I was like, by the way, we've never had a 1,000-yard rusher in San Francisco under Kyle Shanahan. Hyde, I think, came close, and obviously so did
Mostert came really
Elijah
close.
Mitchell in his rookie year came close.
Mostert came close too.
Mostert, but nobody's eclipsed 1,000 yards under Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. So to just dismiss somebody who's so talented as Dalvin Cook as like we don't need him, maybe if he is expensive, we don't. But if he's a decent price, it gets tougher to.
If he wants to be a ring chaser, hey, come on board.
That's sort of my thought. That's sort of my thought.
As far as the running backs go, though, I mean, we did hear that Jordan in minicamp, Jordan Mason has slimmed down a bit from what he was last year. Some people were saying at times, I didn't think he looked this big, but people were saying that he was somewhere in between 235 and 240. They said he's slimmed down and got in a bit better shape, and he looks more explosive and faster now, which is definitely something to be keeping your eye on. And I heard TDP's no slouch, and I heard, and this is coming from Grant Cohn. Grant Cohn was at the practices, and he said TDP's no. Who was that guy that I can't forget his name?
Trey Sermon.
Yeah, he's no Trey Sermon. Yeah. And everybody kept equating TDP to Trey Sermon, and I hear he looks a little faster too. Not as explosive as Jordan Mason does, or not as good, but he's looking like he wants to be on the roster. And CMC, not CMC, but Mitchell. We all know how awesome he is when he plays, but when does he ever get on the field? It's so sad. He's so good, but we never see him.
It is. I have a cross reference for you on TDP also. I heard Larry Krueger say that TDP was looking good too. So that's two different,
Okay, there you go. So yeah,
pretty pretty credible sources that are saying TDP is looking
and a
good.
lot of Niner fans who are really excited about Mason, for some reason, they hate TDP because they just think that he's that, the guy that you mentioned, the guy that we cut, Trey Sermon. They think he's the same player, but he's not the same guy. So he might be a decent player too. You never know.
Here's Joe reading my mind. Imagine running back Cook, tight end Kittle, wide receiver 1 Debo, wide receiver 2 Ayuk, and slot CMC. I mean, that is just deadly. Plus, you could kind of sub juice into most any of those positions other than the boundary wide receiver roles. Um, it's just so much versatility. It's all this positionless football that Kyle loves, and I just think Dalvin Cook is a perfect thing. The only thing is we would want to find out, do a pretty thorough examination on that shoulder, which has been giving him trouble for the last few years. He did have off-season surgery, so there is every reason to think that it could be healed, but it might take several months for that to happen. Could be the reason why no one would trade for him. We'll see. Tanya had a good point up higher. She said, how about if Cook goes home to Miami and they let Jeff Wilson go and we pick him up?
I liked Jeff Wilson at one point when we had him, when he was it the 2020 season. That was the season I liked Jeff Wilson.
We had him.
Actually, last season, the beginning last season, Jeff Wilson was looking good too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if he'd be willing to come back though.
Yeah, if he would, he's welcome back in my mind any day. He runs angry. He's a good receiver. He does have the fumble issues, but he's a proven commodity. And like I said, he'd be welcome back. Who knows? Maybe we could trade him away and get another fifth for him. I don't know.
Can you put a Dynamite Dave's chat on the screen? Just want to say.
Yeah, sure. Where he's saying,
and just anything. Just want to say a shout out to him. Really good friend of mine. Just
how y'all doing?
Much love from Texas. Die-hard Niner fan right there.
Saying, I think Cook plays for Miami or Buffalo. That's what a lot of people are saying. And then we got Donald Johnson, Brian, I'm against violence, so I can't even hit like. I don't know what that was about.
No,
so
now, hit the like button.
I know. Let me scoot back up and just. So Tanya was okay. Wait, real quick. All right, Joe. We hit Joe, and I'm told this is exactly what I'm thinking. Joe is what would teams do against that lineup? It's just a silly amount of talent at every position and versatility too. Tanya says, I think Cook going back home to Miami, kind of like she mentioned. Laura Katz saying, Joe Perkins, hello and welcome. Frank Gore was 14 in the last.
I'm not.
I'm not sure what that means. Maybe. I don't know. Oh, you're on mute, Bash.
Sorry about that. I said in terms of Frank Gore. Actually, did you see my running back poll on Twitter? Where
I saw that he crushed it.
Yeah, everybody voted for Frank Gore. I had Roger Craig, Frank Gore, Ricky Waters, and CMC.
Yeah,
and my personal favorite in terms of who the most fun guy for me to watch was, just like he was just really fun for me. Not saying I thought he was the best, but I loved Ricky Waters, but we barely had him.
Yeah, I would go Roger Craig just because he was the originator, the first thousand. And because Walsh said basically, like, with all the weapons they had, he couldn't have really run the real West Coast offense without Roger Craig.
Roger Craig was awesome.
But Ricky Williams was insane. And then, losing him and losing Dion after the Super Bowl is probably why we didn't repeat after the Super Bowl. So no doubt about it. Joe's saying hello to Laura.
Oh, he said he said back in 2014 that Frank Gore was our last 1,000-yard rusher. So that's a good knowledge right there. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, since 14. Got it. Okay. Okay. Perfect. So it's been 9 years. Donald saying hello.
So Donald,
hit the like button. Donald said that TDP fits the system, but Sermon didn't. So that's interesting.
Yeah. With Sermon, it just, when you see him in college, like when we drafted, I was kind of excited about it. Like, oh wow, when Lance is going to be the quarterback, like they both ran a similar system, and it's going to be so fun to watch. But it just didn't pan out. It just he had that one good game against the Eagles, and he had a concussion in the third quarter of that Eagle game, and then boom, we never really saw much of him ever since.
Donald says, "Really, I hit like." Oh, because the violence.
Oh, can you put up Warowski's name in the chat on the screen?
Yeah, sure.
Says Frank Gordigo. What's up, Borowski? Really good friend of mine. Good to have you here.
Nice. Emiliano says, for who? For what? Dynamite Dave says, Ricky was the man running waters. He was. And William Barnum Floyd. It was quite the backfield. No doubt about it. A lot of fun. What are you going to say, Bash?
Oh, I was waiting for you. Just what else we wanted to cover in terms of minicamp, that took place
this
week, the 2 practices.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that took place, a lot of big stories. I don't know, 3 that come to mind for me, and we can talk about them whatever order you'd like. But I mean, one big one was Kittle saying that Lance has improved significantly since last year. One was Debo saying that he played like SHIT.
Yeah.
And that he wasn't going to put that kind of film up ever again. And another big one was the Greg Papa story, where he was saying that, oh, look, we can't cut Brandon Allen, but maybe he's so good that we can cut Trey Lance.
Let's talk about that, because I met Greg Papa when I was in high school, and when I first became a Warriors fan in the late 80s, Greg Papa was a Warriors announcer, so I've always been like really, really high on Greg Papa. And for some reason over the past couple of years, a lot of Niner fans have really resented Greg Papa. They don't like him. They find him annoying. But I mean, if there's any, not saying it's a straw that broke the camel's back with my admiration for Greg Papa as a great Bay Area announcer, but some of his takes are very questionable. I mean, I'm going to go as far as to say that he has shitty takes from time to time. Case in point, his Brandon Allen comment saying that, oh, Brandon Allen's really impressing in training camp, and yeah, if he keeps going, that they're gonna trade Trey Lance and they can keep Brandon. Like, dude, please, like, Greg Papa, stop. Like, we do not need to hear that. Like, we know who Brandon Allen is. He's been in the league for how long? You can keep him on as a third backup or whatever, but let's not get ahead of ourselves just because he had a few days where he's throwing 7 for 7 and 6 for 6, whatever crap. And then the day after, the next practice after Greg Papa said that, Brandon Allen went 1 for 9 or whatever. Come on, man. We know he is who we thought he was.
Bebop says Mayoko too. Yeah, that was a big one where Mayoko had the time frame and the absolute.
I don't know what's happened to these guys who people have praised so much for so many years.
They're chasing clicks, man. They are selling out and chasing clicks.
They're getting everybody to talk about it, though. If that's the case, they're getting everybody to talk about it.
Yeah, everybody's trying to figure out why everybody's bashing Trey Lance nationally. It's like it's easy because they get clicks and engagement over it. That's why they do it. They know we'll come running and give engagement over it. Yeah, I was unhappy when I saw that report by Mayoko because I'm just like, oh Lord, Kyle's really not gonna even do any kind of competition or see what we have going on. And then I saw Brad Graham kind of come out and recant and say, oh no, it was just an opinion piece. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. Tony Sales says Papa needs to retire. He definitely needs to retire that headset with the microphone with the rubber band.
You know what? He does not look good with the hat on for whatever reason. For years, I saw him without a hat, and whenever they show him in the KNBR studios, he wears a hat, and it just does not fit him. I don't know if he's wearing the wrong hat or something. I don't know. I love it when you call me Greg Papa.
Maybe he needs a visor. Some people aren't hat people. I can't wear hats.
You rock the visor look. Like
I'm a visor guy.
And whenever I see you with that visor, I think head coach.
Stop. So now I got this saloon font one that just arrived. It kind of almost matches Bash's there. It's kind of similar. I like the red letters on the black of Bash's better than the red on red for mine.
I don't know why I love the red and black color scheme. It's my logo. It's my shirt. It's my hat.
Yeah,
it's our background.
Yeah. Looks good. This visor actually, Lee Gowland of 49ers Faithful UK. You can see his flag up here.
I see it.
And Paul Hope. He actually sent me the link for this visor because I was complaining on shows about how it's so hard to find visors, 49ers visors. And in the last couple of weeks, I found a couple. And then I found another one this week. I told Aaron he may have to do another show next week because I may want to have to show it off for First and Ted. So we'll see.
Okay.
Next Wednesday. And it depends on when it arrives. We'll see. Maybe it'll be the week after. I don't know. But I'm going to force Aaron to do a show when it gets here. It's just a good excuse to get him on the air. So let's see here. Brandon can be good. Brandon Allen, I guess. I guess he can be good in camp. I don't think he's going to be real good in games. Um, doesn't matter who the QB is; they're all better than Jimmy.
There you go. Joe's right. I mean,
I feel pretty good about that. I mean, I definitely feel like Purdy is. I feel like Lance will be. If he isn't now, he will be soon. Darnold is the big question mark, and just hopefully we never see Darnold. Let's just put it that way. But
yeah.
I wouldn't rule it out that Darnold could be better than Jimmy in this system.
Even when Darnold was on the Jets, there were certain things I liked about his skill set. Sometimes his arm looked amazing. Sometimes his mobility looked nice.
Bigger arm, more mobile. They're both going to make those bonehead mistakes, but if you make up for it with big chunk plays and opening up the defense to help yak in a run game, yeah, I could see it. I don't think he'll be much better than Jimmy, but I could see him possibly being better than Jimmy, or maybe the same, which is fine. So for a fraction of the cost, for $3 million instead of $23 million. Brian Culp saying, "Let's go, Brandon." Oh no, he's on the Brandon Allen train with Papa. We lost Bryant.
I thought he was on the Jake Moody train.
He is, but I guess he's taking a shine to Brandon Allen. Regardless of QB, I still watch and root for my Niners. Absolutely, Kenny. Even when I didn't like Jimmy G, I rooted for him every Sunday. What I would say to people when they said that to me was, hey, look, I root for Jimmy every Sunday. And then the other 6 days of the week, it depends on how Jimmy did, right? So most of those times I was complaining those other 6 days because it wasn't good. But ultimately, I'm never rooting against them on game day. That's for sure. How about you, Bash?
No, I mean, I would never root for a 49er quarterback on game day. I wouldn't root against them, but when you're watching the game and you see all kinds of screw ups and F ups, especially in a close game where it matters. Case in point, the Denver Broncos game that we had in Denver this past season. Like, I'm going to be opinionated about it. I'm not going to hold back, But of course, when the game starts and when the game's going, sure, I want that quarterback to do good, even though maybe I preferred another quarterback. Who knows?
There you go. Dynamite Dave says Pop looks like a used car salesman. Donald Johnson says, Brian, as long as he keeps working hard, Brandon will be great. Oh, God, stop you two.
What's with this Brandon?
Don't sleep on Darnold. These guys are just trolling us at this point. Might be a Harbaugh Alex Smith thing. Hiroski, I've been saying all offseason I see some parallels between Alex Smith and Darnold. Not in playing style, as we mentioned, but because he is kind of a turnover machine, but he does sling it. And Alex Smith certainly never slinged the ball. He was very conservative, but they definitely both had 5 OCs in their first 5 seasons, 5 different OCs. So I could see Darnold improving some. I just don't think he'll ever be good, let alone great. But maybe he could be below average like Jimmy G. I could see that.
And I think Worowski's a USC fan, if I'm not mistaken. So he might have a little bias towards Darnold.
Oh.
He doesn't like Trey Lance that much, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. Like I've talked up Trey Lance, or maybe he's just really, really pro Brock Purdy. But
Hiroski, do you like Carson Palmer? Let's see what he says, because that's really the only USC quarterback who did much, and even he fell short in the Super Bowl. So Kenny says Lance should start the season, but Purdy should definitely be allowed to come back and play midseason. Yeah, I mean, I think that would be the smart thing to do. I think ultimately, if we want the strongest QB room for the playoffs, I think Lance has to play, and improve to have our best room. I think the worst thing we could do is start Purdy week 1, have him play all season, and then get hurt towards the end of the season. Then you're sticking Lance in there, and he's had almost no chance to improve other than maybe scout team during the season or whatnot. Dynamite Dave asked a question. I was trying to catch up, but I don't know if I will be able to. So let me go back to this. He said, which games are you going to this year? It's a little tricky because we're expecting my second son in like sort of mid to late September. I would have said Seahawks and maybe Cowboys. But I think probably Seahawks and maybe Bengals might be more realistic. And then usually there's a third game that I get to go to as well. That's with my buddy who has season tickets. And then usually a Family Connection gets a different set of tickets for us. So I don't know. We'll see. That one's more variable. I don't have as much control over that one.
But
Dash, you had any
if I attend any games, I'll let people know. I'm thinking maybe the Cardinals game, because the tickets are really cheap that game. So when it is set in stone, I'll let everybody know on here. And if you guys want to hang out or whatever tailgate, I can let you guys know where I'm going to be at. I just went to a 49er barbecue. I'm actually a big picnic over in Sacramento. Really big turnout. Tons of people there. So shout out to the 49ers Sacramento faithfuls there. Del G and Fetty and Brits. Del Fetty and Brits performed, and Cousin Randall and Ray Pena, the Niner, all performed, and OG Cardinal, if you guys know who he is on Instagram, is funny dude, funny 49er fan, makes these funny videos, and he was there, and it was a great turnout. So it's always great to either go to games or go to some type of 49er functions, and there's a lot of barbecues and picnics happening around this time of year.
Well, thanks for posting the videos of that bash. It made it, cool for those of us who couldn't. For those of us who couldn't be there, gave us a little taste of a little flavor of what it was actually like. Brandon Ferrigno in the house. Say what's up, fam. What's up, Brandon?
From Forever Faithful Podcast, Brandon.
That's right. And he's also 49ers Podcast Network. Got Lawrence Jackson Jr. of Platform 246.
Hey, Lawrence.
Happening. Niner gang or don't bang. Holding back. He wants to hear some curse words.
I let them all out on Monday. If you guys go to 49ers, if you guys go to 49ers First Takes channel, 49ers First Takes channel, we did the NWO show on his channel last Monday, or this past Monday, and it was a back and forth about Purdy and Brock and whatever. And they were basically taking Mayoko's article to heart that no other quarterback on this team will ever have a chance to compete. And it's Brock Purdy's job, no matter what, no matter how good Trey Lance does in camp, or no matter how good Darnold would shine or whatever. And I was just furious because I know Lance has worked extremely hard to improve many facets of his game. And like you mentioned George Kittle. Well, we could talk about that right now. George Kittle spoke and said Trey Lance looks a lot better than he did last year. Well, Trey Lance was named the starter last year. So he was good enough to be named the starter last year, but yet he looks a lot better this year. He's still starter material, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying that he's better than Brock Purdy. That remains to be seen. Now, what I am saying is let those guys go head to head, because we still don't know if we have the real Brock Purdy from last year or not. That's a very serious surgery and injury that he came back from. And sometimes players have slumps, so you never know. I mean, you can speak on that.
We don't know if we have Brock Purdy. Well, we know we don't have him physically yet, but even once he's physically ready to play, we don't know how much longer it'll take to be mentally ready to play, whether that's reps and synchronization or just like getting used to getting hit in the pocket again and standing in there against pressure, whatnot. Dynamite Dave was saying the whole Lance Purdy talk is so old. No matter what, it's about winning. Absolutely, it is about winning. But I think that people are going to get passionate about that, even passionate about that on Monday night.
Oh yeah, when I drop those F-bombs, I'm definitely passionate.
Oh yeah, you are passionate. But you can like both quarterbacks. I like both quarterbacks. I prefer Lance, but you can also still be objective about them too, and still not be biased. And that's the whole key, is to remain objective and to say like, hey, Purdy's probably the better quarterback right now, but it's hard to really know until we see Lance with CMC. So, that's, the kind of things to keep in mind. Joe Perkins was saying Harbaugh, Alex didn't win anything together. Alex was there first, will be more like Plunkett and Flores. Interesting. Well, it's funny you mentioned Plunkett because he was actually a Niner QB when I became a Niner faithful in 1976, and then not long after, DeBerg took over and Plunkett went over to the Raiders, and he won a Super Bowl with Flores after the Raiders had won one with Madden, of course. I think they won two with Flores, if I'm not mistaken. So Lawrence is saying both of that like button. Thank you, Lawrence. We appreciate that. And Hiroski was saying, I think Darnold on some dookie teams, this is his first legit team. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. And even his USC team probably wasn't that great. So, yeah, he deserves a chance to show what he can do like everybody else. I just think that you're going to find that Lance is going to perform a little bit better and have less mistakes. And then that Lance will improve, and I don't think Darnold will improve a lot. I think he'll do better than he did just from having all this better talent around him. But I think after 55 starts, you kind of are what you are.
They are who we thought they were. When Dave was saying earlier, it's all about winning. I was thinking about not Tom Cruise, is that one guy, that one actor, Charlie Sheen. He's like winning, but yeah, winning obviously is the most important thing. Winning a Super Bowl is even more important than winning anything else. So, do we have the team to field the Super Bowl championship? Who knows? I mean, it's always about Mahomes and the Super Bowl nowadays, it seems like, and I'm just worried that we do have a really, really stacked team. I get it. And Purdy had a really, really nice run. I understand that. But I don't know how sustainable that is either. I don't know how sustainable it is in terms of, I'm thinking long term of us fielding playmakers across the board. And my thing is if you have an amazing top 5 quarterback, an elite quarterback, you don't necessarily always have to have the most amazing playmakers, So, and I kind of think that Lance still can be that guy, but a lot of people don't. Some people are just big time haters, and anything great that Lance does, they'll just close their eyes and keep yelling, screaming that Trey Lance sucks no matter what. And those are the people that really, really piss me off. There are people who kind of are a bit more objective and subjective about it. I get that. And they do make some points about Lance or whatever, where there are some doubts, perhaps. I'm not saying he's a perfect player, but I do look on the bright side with him. That guy has tons of talent, but he's worked extremely hard. If you combine all that talent and all that hard work, and then all the improvements that he made, and then the intelligence behind it, I don't see how he fails. I really don't.
I agree 100%. It's kind of interesting. Somebody was saying
he's talking about Matt Miyoko. That's what Lauren's talking about. Matt Miyoko. He's calling Matilda.
No, I saw that, but somebody was saying something else that I thought was interesting. But I guess. All right. Well, real quick, I want to address Dynamite Dave said, I wish I could go to 3 games. That's a lot of money. Absolutely, it is. But my buddy who has season tickets, he's already paid for tickets. So when I go with him, I basically buy some steaks for us and brats.
There you go.
And pay for parking.
And actually, tell him I can make him some pizza if he wants me to go to a game. So
there you go. We'll get you in there, Bash, for sure. Absolutely. So I would have trouble affording it otherwise myself. And then, I know Anshul from 49er Media in the house. Wanted to make sure to call him out. Everybody check out 49er Media. He does great stuff, great channel, and he does a lot of the news updates for the Niners. So check it out. And then Brandon was saying that check out the last episode on Forever Faithful. They had a group panel, and he said Dion said it best. But we've talked about so many things. You'll have to tell us, refresh us. On
he's talking about where Dion was talking about Trey Lance and stuff. Okay. I'm not one to toot my own horn, but Brandon, if you ever get a chance, go 49ers First Takes channel, Monday's last NWO show. Just watch me on there for the first 15, 20 minutes on there and tell me what you think.
It was beep, 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 but passionate, bashing it. Dynamite Dave says, so Beto is a Purdy fan now, yet last year he was on that Lance. I mean, he claims to be, the name on the front, not the name on the back or whatever you want to say. But yeah, he's definitely a little more Purdy than Lance. And, I'm a little more Lance than Purdy. But I think Beto likes them both. It's not like he's not one of those like, oh, I like one, so I hate the other. And I think he's pretty unbiased too, I would say, about Beto. And then Brandon said, I said in my show, I don't know how Brock will do this after an injury like that. Yeah, nobody knows. Nobody knows, because there have been so few quarterbacks that have had this repair plus internal brace surgery. Only Nick Mullins. And let's face it, it's been 2.5 years since Mullins had it. Do we know if Mullins is 100% even now? We don't. Do we know if he was 100% 6 months in? Even more dubious. So, a lot of question marks.
Who was the other quarterback that had it?
Nick Mullins.
Didn't Jake Delhomme have that same surgery too?
Jake Delhomme had the full Tommy John, the full replacement.
Oh, he had the full Tommy John. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I just had Dr. Pondia on yesterday, and we talked about
Pondia. There you go.
Yeah, in fact, I pinned him down and said, hey, what's your estimate for when you think Purdy will be back? He said week 3. So I was like, oh, okay, interesting.
I'm not a doctor, but just me eyeballing things in terms of the way. I think I said this on my show like months ago when it was brought up. But I was just eyeballing, thinking, okay, watch. I bet you he'll be back by week 4, or maybe playing by week 5 or something like that. But because I noticed with the 49ers, there's always these delays. Oh yeah, this guy's gonna play week 1, and week 1 ends up being week 8. You know what I mean? So who knows?
Yeah, so I mean, we don't know. I mean, I am hoping that Purdy is ready as soon as possible, but I also hope that Trey Lance gets a chance to play and show us what he can do, because I really think that bodes best for us to have the strongest QB room possible rolling into the playoffs. Don says competition is always a good thing. We need the players on the field, the best players on the field each and every week. Exactly. I mean, I do think there's a point where once you picked your starting QB and you know they're your starter, that you are actually better off to trade the other one away at some point. So I don't know if that's the trade deadline or next end of the season, but at some point it's a distraction to have two. You can just see what it does to the fan base. You know, it does the same thing to the locker room. They're divided. It's never uniform. It's never 100% people want one or the other. And anytime there's any division, that weakens your team, it weakens your fan base. So, at some point they probably will need to trade one of these QBs away, but I think we're a ways off from that yet.
Yeah, it's going to be further down the road, and I think I don't know who is Mayoko and a few other people. They're just blatantly saying that don't expect any of these quarterbacks to get traded, but hey, everybody has a price, right? To quote the $1 Million Man and from wrestling, you never know. Yeah. I mean, I just don't think that there's going to ever. I mean, it's just crazy that the 49ers invested so much in Lance, and for them to. I mean, if they were not going to put him out on the field to see what he's doing with all this improved release and improved mechanics and everything else, I just think it would be crazy to just trade him and get peanuts for him. Is what they gave it the farm, and they'll get peanuts in return, especially for a guy who barely played him.
Then if he hits his ceiling on another team, Kyle will never live it down,
and it will make Kyle Kyle will get raped by the media if that happens.
Yeah, he'll probably be put him on the hot seat or cause him to lose his job. And as 49ers fans, we'll never hear the end of it. And not like we're going to leave the team when Kyle does. So kind of longer term implications for us. Lawrence Jackson Jr. says Jake DeGrom. I forgot what his first name is. It's not Jake. It's Jake Delhomme and something DeGrom. The pitcher, he's having Tommy John, I believe. Yeah, and so
Jake Delhomme. Oh, the Mets pitcher he put. Okay, there you go. Similar name.
It's not Jake. It's just DeGrom.
Okay.
Anyway, bottom line is, that's most of the people have had all these surgeries. The Tommy Johns, the internal brace plus repair, the hybrid, which is kind of a mix of the two. It's mostly pitchers, so that's what the timelines we're dealing with. But obviously, pitching on a mound is very different. Like the pitching motion is more stressful on the UCL because your arm is out here, and so there's more torque on the UCL compared to football. You're throwing more straight ahead, so it's just more for stability. But the thing that's very different about football is you're in a pocket with 300-pound monsters trying to tear you limb from limb. So there's a whole mental component with football that isn't as big of a deal.
And then pitchers. you just get sacked all the time. You hit the turf all the time. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how that would hold that after getting that surgery. That elbow's gonna hold up.
There you go. Dynamite Dave says, "I want this year to figure out who's the QB going forward. One of these guys has to be the QB for the next 10 years. That's the idea." I just think. I'm gonna be honest. I think if Lance wins it, he could be the QB for 10 years. If Purdy wins it, I don't see us ever paying him top quarterback money. That's just me. Unless he wins a Super Bowl or something like that. But I just.
Well, you were bringing up something to me too about Purdy. Some people were hinting that, make Purdy the start, designate him as a starter right now, and to get rid of Lance and maybe hold on to I'm really bad with names today. Darnold. I'm so bad with names today. And then give Purdy this crazy contract extension before the season starts. It's like, why would you jump the gun like that? That's so stupid. I think you were telling me that they have to wait a few years to extend him, right? If possible, if they're going to go that route.
I think it has to be after his third year. So maybe not till the end of next season, or maybe during next season for the end of the third year. yeah, there's a little bit of time before we can actually even do it. Emiliano says, funny enough, Plunkett was a tackling dummy for the Patriots when he finally got a team that gave a S about protecting him with an O-line. Plunkett handling business. Kyle. I mean, that's the one good thing about McKivitz is he's not the run blocker that McGlinchey was, but he's probably a better pass blocker, easily arguably a better pass blocker. So that might help improve our pass blocking, if nothing else.
In terms of pass block, go ahead, read that comment. I'll talk about.
Well, and Jake, you let me know that it was Jacob DeGrom, so I guess you could call him Jake DeGrom. So my bad,
Jake and Jacob. Hey.
Yeah,
he said Lance Hader's been in love with Jimmy. Yeah, so okay, so this is how
there's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of crossover.
So when we drafted Lance, all the people who were madly in love with Jimmy hated Lance no matter what, no matter how good he could have possibly been. They would never admit he's good at anything. You know, they'll just say he doesn't even know how to tie his shoes or drive a car or do whatever. Let's talk about him like he's the stupidest person on planet Earth. And then lo and behold, Jimmy gets hurt and they luck out because Brock Purdy steps in the scene and has this amazing win streak. I'm like, oh, okay, well, wow, now we got Brock Purdy to cheer for. Oh, that's another guy that we can hate on Lance for and talk about Brock Purdy, and we're gonna make sure that Trey Lance never starts for us. And it's like all your football takes are all based on hate. Like, let's talk about some football, but that's why I want to see Lance out there so we can finally see him. All this improvement, and those guys can shut the fuck up. And if they don't want to be Niners anymore, Niner fans anymore, because Trey Lance is the fucking quarterback, then they can go fuck themselves. And I'm ready to bitch slap all these motherfuckers, dude.
Bam! There's the bash.
There you go. There you go.
Getting passionate. I like it. You know, yeah. I mean, another thing they like to do is lie. I mean, they say a lot of things that just are flat out untrue. They exaggerate.
It's so stupid.
They take things out of context. They try to put words in your mouth. Try and say, oh, you hate Brock Purdy. And I'm like, no, I like Brock Purdy. I just think we're going to need more. That's it.
This is how bad they are. On Twitter, when Kittle had that press conference, and he's saying, yeah, I think he looks significantly better than he did last year. Blah, blah, talking about Trey Lance. And then
they're like, oh, you would never say something bad about a teammate.
I could tell by Kittle's mannerisms and his gestures. He touched his face, or he moved his hand, or he moved his arm. That means he's really nervous and he's lying. Like, motherfucker, you're acting like you're a human lie detector test. Who the fuck are you, dude?
And I'm like, nobody cares about your incomplete JC education. You know?
And they're like, well, Kittle's just saying that because he has to bump up Trey Lance's trade value. Like, dude, Kittle's not a fucking GM. He doesn't work in the front office, dude.
So Kittle invited him to Tight End University just to be a nice guy.
Yeah. Kittle hates him, and he's lying about him and saying he invited him to Tight End University.
It's literally Josh Allen, Trey Lance, and about 3 or 4 other QBs. It's a select list. It's because he's got a cannon. It's because he can make all the throws and the special throws. That's sort of the interesting thing, because people talk about, that Brock can make all the throws, and he kind of can if he steps into it, but he can't do it off platform.
He can, but he's not a deep ball thrower.
Yeah.
I have a second cousin of mine. He got so mad when I said he was hyping up Brock Purdy, and I was like, well, one thing Brock Purdy isn't so great as is a consistent deep ball. No, Brock Purdy throws the deep balls. He threw all sorts of deep balls last year, dude. He threw one deep ball last year.
Just didn't complete many of them. That's the one to
Kittle. The one to Kittle.
Because Jack,
I forgot who it's against.
I got into a Jack Hammer on the timeline today about it, because somebody was saying, oh, you don't need to throw deep in this offense. I said, go look at the 2016 Falcons offense. They led the league in air yards. Matt Ryan was the MVP, and they had the number one offense.
That's what I tell people. I said the prime example of this offense is this Shanahan offense with Matt Ryan at quarterback. That's not what we got with Purdy last year. It wasn't the same effect.
No, and people say Julio. It's like every one of our other weapons besides Julio is better.
Exactly. So we're way more stacked than that offense.
And we have more rush yardage and whatnot. That's propping Purdy up by like 20% or 30% difference. So ultimately, real quick, just want to say hi to Ryan from No Border Sports is in the house. Slay Fungi with his obligatory dad joke. Air used to be free at the gas station. Now it's $1.50. Do you know why? Inflation.
Air used to be free.
Inflation's pretty real right now. It's killing us.
Hey, whenever you're headlining at the San Jose Improv or Cobb's Comedy Club in San Francisco, let me know. I'll be right there. I'll get front row seats.
There you go. Brandon says, "I love when Bash gets angry." Ha 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 ha.
You don't
Donald says, "I
want
think
to
the
see me
NFL
angry.
should add a couple more people to the F50 man roster with the amount of games that's needed. It would be helpful, but it's more money.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. So the
Yeah,
owners
and
don't want
they
to
did
do it.
increase the practice squads, but it would have been nice if they made the rosters bigger. I agree.
Hiroski says all Purdy did was win games. He did, but all Jimmy did was win games too. So if QB wins can be misleading with Jimmy, they can be misleading with Purdy too, especially since, Jimmy barely had CMC and Purdy had him the whole time.
Because
So,
all I do is win, 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 no matter what.
damn, dropping bars. Go Bash. And then here's Lawrence. He's saying that wins are a team organizational stat, not simply a quarterback. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say QB wins don't matter. They do. They matter. It's just there's something. They're just not everything. They're not nothing, and they're not everything. They're something. It's an interesting statistic, but don't put too much value into it, especially on a team with the number one D and the number one group of weapons and Kyle calling the plays. You would expect a lot out of a team like that. So, also when a lot of teams you're playing are injured or not that good. And now obviously the Cowboys is very good, Eagles is very good, but Eagles isn't complete.
You brought up Kittle, tight end university, and I was thinking about the 2 tight ends we drafted because I heard some good things in mini camps. And did you want to talk about Cameron Latou and Brady Willis?
Yeah, so I mean, Latou caught a deep ball from Sam Darnold, a deep touchdown. And I didn't hear much about Braden Willis. I mean, it just sounds like he's looking good. I heard that Kittle caught a deep ball from Lance in that same practice where Darnold. So they each had long touchdowns in that same practice, but Lance threw the pick 6 to Hyder. So that was sort of I put that in my title, something about, Lance pick 6 is Darnold better, because a lot of people are trying to say that. I don't believe it. But it's a conversation starter.
From what I hear, it's more of Hyder.
People are talking about
play on the ball that normally would have been a batted pass, but he intercepted. Then they said if it was a real game, it would have been pick 6. But it's practice. Players make it. Prior to that, Lance didn't throw any picks, so in general, he wasn't really turning the ball over.
Yeah. Joe says Jimmy won 5 straight, 3 being playoff teams. Everyone's in love with them. Take that. Yeah, I mean, technically 3 playoff teams, but the Rams sat their starters, so can't really count them. The Jaguars had very little chance of improving their seeding, so it makes that one a little bit less relevant. And they all had bad quarterbacks: Bortles, Mariota, and whoever the backup QB was for the Rams that year behind Goff. So yes, technically 3 playoff teams, but in reality, it was a lot of overhyped wins there in those 5.
As far as Cameron Latou goes, they said he looks a lot faster than his 40 time in my OTAs and mini camps. So that's good. That's good. And Braden Willis in general is looking good right off the bat. One of my major concerns, I want to bring this up with you, was offensive line. I found about outside of Kivitz, who do we really have? But you can go ahead and read a couple comments and we can get into the offensive line really quick.
Real quick, gotta say hi to Aaron. Flipping us some grief. Hey, ladies, finally caught the stream. He must be talking to Laura, Kat, and Tanya, not us, right?
Yeah, they're the only ladies that I think I saw there, unless there's somebody else. You know what? There's plenty of people who watch my streams and Ted's streams, and 50% of the people that do watch.
No, I think he meant us, because I think you talked about it in NWO, and then he said, "Oh, I never make it, but maybe I'll try." So I think he's giving us some grief there.
Really? Okay.
I think so. It's fine. It's all good nature, Aaron.
I shouted his channel out a few times because I was on there on Monday.
Benefit of the doubt.
I shouted 49ers First Takes channel earlier, so.
There you go. Everybody's just saying kind of hi to one another. So sorry, and you said Braden Willis. I just heard he's looked like really good. Like maybe maybe it was Larry said maybe the tight end version of Juwan Jennings. Just kind of a scrappy brawler type. But he was saying that he thought Warner and Dwally were in big trouble, and maybe even Juice next year. So
I got you. And let's talk about the offensive line really quick, because. The team, Forrester's like all in on Colton McKivitz at right tackle, and I was screaming and shouting and say, "Hey, draft the right tackle." And then they were like, "Well, we don't need to draft another right tackle." Hey, but guess what? We signed this UDFA Joey Fisher, and Joey Fisher was a monster coming out of the small school, and he was supposed to be drafted in the third round, but we got him as an undrafted free agent. I was like, okay, maybe as a consolation prize, maybe he can help challenge Colton McKivitz. Well, guess what? Joey Fisher, according to the offensive line coach, is strictly a guard now. They don't like him at tackle at all. They never even wanted to try him at tackle because I guess he has short arms. So it's like we have all our eggs in one basket for McKivitz, and I hear that like guys like Matt Pryor and a few other backup tackles don't look that great, and I'm just worried about this right tackle position, especially if McKivitz goes down.
Yeah, no, it's a scary situation. I wanted to draft a right tackle. We didn't. You wanted to draft a right tackle. We didn't. Matt Pryor, Jalen Moore. That's scary city, but I guess we could always trade for somebody if need be prior to the trade deadline. The real doomsday scenario is you get past that trade deadline and something happens and you don't have really much of an option. So I guess we'll see what happens, but hopefully Colton McKivitz can be a little more durable than he was in 2022 because he sprained his MCL week 4 against the Rams in this first game, filling in for Trent Williams.
I think our offensive line depth is very strong in the interior. I hear a lot of guys on the come up on the interior. It should be strong, at least on paper. Feliciano has got plenty of experience as a starter in the NFL to fill in as an interior guy. And Nick Zakel is somebody they're really high of, but it's like, where's the help on the tackles? You know, I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out.
I mean, I guess you could move Burford out to tackle in an emergency situation and put
have
Feliciano in there, I guess. I don't know. Hopefully they're cross-training him for that. We'll see. Hiroski was saying that Purdy was incredible. Yeah, Purdy was an incredible story, but he wasn't incredible as an NFL QB. He was incredible as a rookie. He was incredible as Mr. Irrelevant. But as an NFL QB, he's kind of, I don't know, I want to say average, which is better than Jimmy G, who I think is below average. I think he's like the 15 to 12 range. And he can improve. He's young. He can improve. I just don't see his ceiling being a ton higher, especially as defensive coordinators have more time to study tape on him and, attack his weaknesses and limit his strengths. But we'll see. You never know. He could be the next Drew Brees for all we know. But I just feel like Brees had a stronger arm. So I don't know. We'll see. Emiliano was saying, killing Lance caught on camera this week, choreographing TD celebrations, but George hates Trey. Okay.
Oh, I didn't know about the TD celebrations. Well, that's good. Hopefully we have TDs from them and are in our games for them to celebrate for. I'm okay with the TD celebrations. Sometimes they're funny. The only celebration that I really hate in football, and it looks like the 49ers are the originators of it, and it bothers me the most because we did it in the Super Bowl that we lost, is when the defense just like all members of the defense just sit in the back of the end zone and they're like, yo, look at us. And like, dude, the game's not over yet, man. Like,
no doubt about it. I saw there was Grant captioned Kittle talking to Lance about something, and he came up with some witty caption about it. And I wrote something like my own version of it, which was like, hey, George saying to Kittle, hey, people forgot that I'm a deep threat. Throw it way over there, and let's remind them. And so I hope that's how it goes. I hope that this tight end university helps Lance to get a leg up on Darnold, because I feel like Lance has been a little bit better than Darnold so far. But it's maybe a little closer than I expected. And, I don't want there to be any doubt. I want it to be sure.
Well, so far, at least it looks like, even though it may not look so great in terms of completion percentages, it looks okay, I guess, in terms of kind of a neck and neck thing. But at least they say that, when it comes to camp so far, the best looking throws so far in camp have been from Trey. So,
yeah, he's had more TDs. Darnold's been sacked a number of times. He fumbled.
Trey hasn't been sacked in his camp.
Yeah, Lance had the interception, but sometimes interception actually isn't as bad as it sounds. And ultimately, all these, completion percentages and everything is not really what they're doing in OTAs and minicamp. It's about working on your weaknesses, not leveraging your strengths. You're really not going for the highest completion percentage. You're trying to complete things you wouldn't normally try so that when you come to a game, you will be able to try them if need be. So, yeah, anyway. And Lorcan's got saying, oh, bummer. I guess that's about the geography. I guess she's in Arizona. No, I think she's in the Bay Area.
No, Laura's definitely in the Bay Area. No, it's
Yeah. I think she's East Bay.
Nobody was talking about his daughter. So.
I'm Peninsula, and you're Roseville, right?
Yeah, I used to live in the South Bay.
Yeah, I think she's in between us somewhere out there. I know in the 925 area, somewhere out there. Okay, all right. I'm going to try and skip this conversation.
Let's talk about the Mario Brothers movie. That was a comment about the Mario Brothers movie.
Okay,
I did not.
Should we talk about Debo? That was one of the things we talked about earlier in the show.
Debo. I mean, yeah, it's cool. I mean,
did you see Mike Andrews on 49ers Hive with Zach Hernandez?
No, I didn't. I did not watch
Matt
that.
Llewellyn. Mike Andrews went off on Debo. And he was saying about how he's so selfish. And it's like they asked him about his season and he talked all about himself and nothing about the team and how like the team did so well, even with him playing badly. And ultimately he kind of came back and apologized. Yeah, you should definitely check it out. It was a pretty epic rant. And he came back and he apologized. He said, you know what? It was a question just about Debo himself season, not the team. And other people kind of checked me and told me. And I was like, good man for, first of all, admitting you're wrong. And second of all, coming back with a public apology about it. Most people won't admit when they're wrong. And I've been accused of it. I'm just like, all you got to do is Google search on Twitter, my bad, or I was wrong, or good point, and you'll see a lot of places where I've been wrong.
I don't think there's anybody on this planet that's never been wrong, but
no,
apparently
of course not.
There's certain people who act.
It's part of being human. It's all about how you handle it, and trying to learn from it so you don't make the same mistakes over and over again.
We got Pterodomes in the chat.
Yeah. So let's scoot down, saying what up, Bash and Ted. That's Mike. Yeah, Mike was going off. I think Pterodome was in the audience.
I need to catch it. At what point in the show was it the beginning, middle, or the end when all this craziness happened? Because I want to catch it.
He said Mike hates all the good players and rides the mediocre. Well, he famously on my show, he's like, all right, Ted, get ready. You can clip it. And he was wearing his shades and he took off his shades and he has Zoom, but I'll, zoom in this way. And he's like, Sam Darnold will be the best QB even if Purdy is healthy. He'll be QB1, week 1.
Wait.
Mike Andrews.
Mike, no, he did not say
that. Yeah, he did on my show. It's in my shorts. You can see it. He's like, clip it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to clip it. Of course.
And for the record, I hung out with Mike. It was the same time. It was the same night I met Brandon. It was we had this big meet and greet the night before the Seahawks game, home opener last year. Mike's an awesome guy in person, by the way. He's really, really cool. Actually, speaking of the Hive, Zach Hernandez was also there. I got to meet him, and we all hung out. It was great. I also got to meet awesome. Nick from Nothing But Niners. They were all there.
Like, love me or hate me, you can blame Zach Hernandez for me because he was in a group chat with me and Dion and Kali Young and a bunch of people, and he was the first one to ever ask me to write an article or whatever, and that's sort of what got me started.
Okay,
real quick, I want to call out John V coming down Mexico way, just to make sure you're staying cool down there and getting some video. Bash wanted to see you take a video. So
John V, the Greek destroyer, the Vornado.
The Vornado, exactly. So we are starting to run a little short on time. We should probably clip it off in about 3 minutes here. But as far as Debo goes, I mean, I guess proof's in the pudding. He says he'll never put that on film again. I'd like to see him live up to that. I would love to see 2021 Debo with 2022 CMC. I mean, come on. How epic would that be with 2023 Ayuk, right? And maybe 2018 Kittle, right? Like all the peak of all those weapons. Scary. I mean, can you imagine?
But there's only one football. There's only one football.
I get it. But the better they all play, the more attention they get, from everybody. It just makes it impossible to focus on any one, and it just leads to guys being wide open with room for yak and tons of separation. It makes it easier on whoever is our QB. So we'll see what happens. And I have to apologize. I didn't get to all the chats. It got a little fast and furious there
Hey,
for a
great
while.
turnout today, by the way. Thank you guys. We really
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah, and if you came to watch on my channel, make sure you go like and subscribe on 49er Minded. And if you're on Bash's channel, please come on over to TED Talks Ball and do the same. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next week, next Friday at 3 p.m. And just say peace.
I have an announcement.
Yeah.
Okay, so I booked the last minute show while the show was going. And I finally got a response from a person because I hit him up a few hours ago. But anyways, I'm going to be going live most likely tonight on my channel around probably 8 o'clock, 8:30 at the latest. But yeah, most likely 8 o'clock. If you guys are familiar with 95.7, the morning roast, he's not a host. He's not Bonte Hill or Joe Shasky, but he's a famous caller on there. His name's Tyler. He's really, really cool guy. He's really funny. And they actually had him on in the studio today on the morning roast as a special guest. So that's pretty awesome. And I always wanted to have him on my show. And we've been friends for quite some time online. And he agreed to come on my show tonight. So it should be a lot of fun. Big Warriors fan, big 49er fan. So it should be a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, everybody go check out Bash tonight at 8 or 8:30 tonight.
Pacific time.
Yeah. Who do you got for the Nuggets Heat before we go?
I say, you know what? I admire the fight of the Heat. I really, really do. I love the coaching job that Eric Spoelstra has, and that he's been doing. Basically, Bam Adebayo is a pretty feisty player, and Jimmy Butler's awesome. But I just think the Nuggets just have too much for the Heat.
I think so too. I picked Nuggets in 5. I got a little nervous when the Heat stole Game 2 to steal home court advantage, but then the Nuggets stole it right back. So I'm still going Nuggets in 5, maybe 6 if the Heat can win tonight. But I would, if I was betting, I'd bet on the Nuggets.
There you go.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in, and peace and go Niners.
Let's go. Ballin'.